Hi Sky, welcome back.
Hey Sharon, thanks for having me back.
You're welcome. I had a lovely treatment from you yesterday, and there's always more to talk about. So,
Yeah.
last time we spoke about breath work,
hmm
but that isn't all you do. So you do breath work, massage, and yoga.
Yes.
And
Yeah, a combination of all those things sometimes is a treatment. But yeah, so they're the main aspects, yeah.
Yeah.
Massage, breath work and yoga.
and you tell me that your yoga. I've done the massage and the breath work, and it's amazing. But I've not done the yoga with you. So how's it different
You'll
to
have to come.
everyone else? I will when I get back from the UK. I will.
Yeah, it is different, and some people like it. I think that when people do it, they'll do it. So it's got more movement. I'll give you a little bit of background. So when I was doing my breath work for 2 years, it got a little bit crazy in those times, but I met my yoga teacher during that. He came over and taught us for a weekend. The breathwork teacher was actually like, oh, I'm bringing over this enlightened guru and this and that. And I was so deep in my pain at the time, I almost didn't go. But I did, and I didn't even really like yoga. I thought, I've done it before, but I didn't really like it. But I met him, and I suppose you could say that he's my guru. Well, that's what I call him. I actually do call him guru, which is kind of
Does
funny.
he have a name?
His name
Just
is Ketut, so he's
Okay.
from Balinese.
Ketut.
Ketut! He's Balinese, so he's got grey hair and a beard, and he looks like a guru, and yeah, he is. He's a master. Like, he's a spiritual master. He's mastered himself, and he created this yoga. I think maybe there's a little bit of a need for the Shakti. So his spiritual name is Sri Jai Shakti, which means that Jai means freedom, and Shakti is obviously the feminine aspect, because he's a tantric guru, and in tantra, of course, it's all about bringing together the polarity that we live in. So the Shiva is the masculine energy, and the Shakti is the feminine. But Shiva is actually the consciousness, and the Shakti is the energy. So he's a freedom of energy. Yeah, so that's, I suppose, why he got his name. When you're around him, you do feel the Shakti power that he has. So this yoga, I suppose, is still, in terms of philosophy, is based in the traditions of yoga. But it's a physical practice of asana, which you're using normal hatha yoga positions, normal asana positions. But instead of holding them static, you sort of move and breathe within them, sort of like an undulation and a breathing and moving. And as you know from the breath work and from the massage, you build energy in the body through breathing, of course, because when we're breathing, we're not just breathing oxygen, we're also breathing prana, or breathing energy, which kind of pumps up the system.
Which, can I say, for most of the viewers, they might not have ever felt that before, because I didn't. I
Yeah.
had no idea what energy can feel like in different parts of my body.
I know, and that's when it gets blocked. When we really breathe a lot, we might experience a contraction or a discomfort, or just not a pleasurable feeling. Because what happens is the cells that get contracted, they kind of move like this, and when we breathe a lot, the energy wants to expand. But when there is a block in the energy, which generally is an emotional block, or it could be a mental block, but generally emotions travel through the same channels as the energy body. So when we have that block, it sort of builds up and it creates a contraction and a discomfort, or like something that we experience is not pleasurable. But when we're expanded, the cells kind of they rub over each other like this, and then that creates more of a pleasurable experience. So, but in the yoga, which is he called it Kundalini Tantra Yoga. So Kundalini is the divine energy that we've all got within us. So it's like the seed of the Shakti, I suppose. And then Tantra is the balance. And look, yoga, people have yoga or asana as, the physical practice of asana is doing this, but for me, it's all a bhakti practice, which is the offering of yourself. You're offering your body for the divine to run through you, and so when you're breathing and moving, it's almost like a making love with yourself. You can make your yoga feel beautiful, and I suppose men have been doing yoga for maybe 5,000, 10,000 years, I don't know, but women have not been doing yoga for that long. I think Indra Devi and a few of the, maybe 100 years old. Well, not 100 years old, but 100 years ago they started teaching women yoga, because ashrams were for men, they weren't for women.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so this sort of masculine practice of doing these warrior poses, so it was all very came from a martial arts background, yoga, so these positions came from that, and these warrior poses, and they're sort of strengthening for men. So when women start to do it, and when I see it, and now that I've experienced this yoga, it's more of a, so holding the position is the balance of the strength or the masculine aspect, but then the moving and the flowing within the posture is bringing more Shakti energy. And from you breathe and breathe and breathe, you know, you're pumping the body full of prana, and then the movement helps it flow through. So those blocks, when you lay still and you breathe, you might experience a contraction or some pain or discomfort from the block in the body. If at that point, and I have had you in a session, move. Like yesterday, boom, boom,
yes.
boom, 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 boom. And so when you move, you think, oh, that energy's expanded out. So when you're practicing this yoga, that's what you're doing the whole time, is you're charging the body with prana, or with oxygen and energy, and then you are also releasing it and help it flow through with the movement. And particularly the spine, because, you know, our spine is just an extension of the brain. You know, the brain up here, and then the base or the tail is just the other end of the brain. So there's just two things going on here. But the divine energy comes from here. You know, the human brain, we have this energy up here, but we want to wake up this energy and bring it up. And so this is just one connection. You know, so they're moving at the same time. So a lot of this, we're focusing on moving the spine, not just forward and back that we normally do, but side to side and around in circles and spiraling. And it has almost a little bit of an element of belly dancing. Well, I like it's a serpentine movement. You know, so it's this kind of moving this way. And the spine naturally sort of moves like that, or maybe the side, and breathing in, and you forget your mind and let your body take over, move from your heart. Your body likes this feeling. It's this feeling, or maybe the head can move and the shoulders can move and the hips can move, and you can let yourself go into it a little bit, in almost like a little bit of a trance, or you know, just let your body go, let the breath go, let the body take over, rather than trying to, you know, controlling and holding all the time. And look, the thing is, the whole point of yoga is that we're trying to come more into the body. You know, people say, you're saying, I need to ground, we need to be more in the body. When you experience pain in your body, generally you jump into your head. So if you're holding a position for a long period of time and it's making you feel a bit of discomfort, because that's what we're also doing, right? We're pushing ourselves to the edge of discomfort so that we can learn to soften and surrender into that position. But when we do that too much, instead of holding it and really going into it, we jump into the mind and we start thinking, oh God, when this yoga class is finished, I'm going to get a coffee and a muffin, or I don't like this teacher anymore, and this person next to me smells, and you know, all these sorts of things. And that's just an indication that you've jumped out of your body because it's experiencing discomfort and into the mind. And when you move, it keeps more awareness in the body, and it's more, it's an investigation. You know, because you can kind of move that way and you think, oh, I've got to hold it with the right alignment. But we don't really know what the alignment is. And, you know, you can feel it, yes, but if you hold the alignment, you think, oh, hang on, I'm just going to move forward, and then I'm going to move back, and then forward, and then back, and go forward right to the end on the exhale of trying to get to that extension. But don't hold it, you can pull back a little bit. And then, and this way you're dancing with your discomfort. And the body trusts you a bit more. If you want to hold it and go, and hold it like this, the body starts to pull back. It doesn't like it. Whereas if you kind of, you know, the body starts to trust you, and it opens up more and more and more. And with each time it goes, okay, you're not going to make me stay there. You're just going to extend. And then you might feel like, oh wow, I really opened up. And people often say, because I do long classes, 2.5 hours, they've just gone in half an hour. But it's because they're present in the body and in the movement and moving through it, and just being more aware of the body and feeling it and dancing with the body. You know, rather than like, oh, I just need to get into this class and calm down the mind. In the mind, you don't need to try to calm the mind down. You just need to come into the body.
It's really interesting because, like, for me, I'm looking at yoga. I've never really enjoyed yoga because
I don't either.
I've done bodybuilding in the past, and it was always really heavy weights and like always mind over matter, mind over body all the time. And I used to do that with yoga, And I was talking to another yoga teacher, and she was like, "Oh, the spiritual." I'm like, "I don't get a spiritual connection. I'm just trying to overpower my body all the time."
Well, yeah, and
And I did, and I was like, because I can do that, and I'm very flexible. Like, I can do yoga, it's fine. But I didn't get the spiritual connection.
Yeah.
So I think for somebody like me, who is in that mindset of, really hard, going to push yourself.
Yeah.
What you're doing, you're then sort of working with intuition and letting your body go where it wants to.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of, but there is an element, so like if you go to something which I like, don't get me wrong, like something like 5 Rhythms where you're sort of dancing, or ecstatic dance where you're just like letting the body be free and just, moving like that, which is fine. But we still want to process the body as well, and that's what you're doing in yoga. So there's an element of the masculine, which is the form. So you're still holding the form, but you might, moving, you still have an element of form and then the movement on top of that, rather than, so there's a bit of both, which is the Tantra, which is the Shiva and the Shakti. And I think that particularly for women, and even like in our society, we have all these different types of yoga, and all yoga is great, that's fine, whatever you like, but it does become, even power living is called yoga athletica. It's very much about the body. Of course, we can take the body, because it's a macro micro, and take your limitations. So when we breathing in and we exhale and we try and soften into the discomfort in our hamstrings, that can also then be translated into learning to soften into the discomfort of a negative emotion, or softening into the discomfort of a situation in your life, and those types of things. So the body is like a micro of everything else, so we can do that, but there's such a hardness about that. And I've even studied, I studied at Satchinanda, I've studied at Byron Yoga, but I lived in the ashram with my guru over in Bali. And it's just the energy of it, it's just the magic of it, it's just, you feel this bhakti and it flowing through you, and women particularly have this power. If you look in the tradition, so men did yoga and they were warriors, but women, they didn't do yoga, women danced. Women have always danced in all the cultures across the world. That's how they connect with the divine. So if you can have yoga, yes, and it's not dancing as in street dancing or jazz dancing, it's this moving of the body, an internal movement of the body, and a flowing with the energy, because energy spirals, right? Energy always spirals. So when you spiral your spine, you're moving with creation. You use maybe the figure 8 a lot, which they do in belly dancing a lot, and that's why women belly dance, because that's how they raise their Kundalini Shakti, that's how they move. And because of the built for having babies and things like that, they naturally move in that way. So when you add that movement, that serpentine style of movement on top of the discipline of yoga, you have a practice in itself. And people would say, in yoga, that you're learning this, and a bhakti practice is to sing kirtan or mantra or whatever. But I feel like the asana itself, the dancing, the asana, the doing the yoga can bring out the bhakti, for the love for yourself, the love for your body, the love for life. I've studied a lot, as I said, and I've spent a time in different ashrams, and I've seen a lot of women that have done a lot of practicing, a lot of I suppose traditionally men practices, so meditation and things. And look, I'm not saying that meditation's wrong in any way, but it's one pointed focus, and we do need that, of course, but it's a very masculine quality. So that's the Shiva, whereas the Shakti is this movement. And I've seen women spend years and years in ashrams, but I look at them and I feel like you look a little bit dry. There's not a lot of juice in them. They don't feel like these women that are, women can bring the cosmic energy in, and that's the tantric thing. You can bring the cosmic energy into the body so that you have this sort of juice and flow. Whereas if we're doing a lot of spiritual meditations and we want to go up and out of the body becomes dry. We want to bring that in. And I think, well, hang on, I don't want to practice this yoga if the result is that I'm going to be this sort of dry person. I don't want to be dry. I want to be in my body and feeling, and it is this, so you feel like that, and that's what this yoga does.
Cool. So can I ask you, how's it, obviously very passionate about it.
Yeah,
how has it affected you in your life? What was life like before?
Oh my God, it's completely changed my life. I mean, it's a combination. So I did the breath work, which was really blew me out of the water, because I had a lot of unconscious suppressed memories from my childhood abuse. And, when children experience something that is too much for them to cope with at the time, a lot of the time they can, they sort of pigeonhole it. Well, there's a scientific, it's stored in the limbic part of the brain, blah, 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 but it can be back there. So the breathing was a process of uncovering that, and it's amazing how that works. But particularly for me, it depends on your type of personality. I was a good girl, and I got a big lung capacity, and I just breathed like a freight train. When they said breathe, I just breathe. So as well as uncovering all this emotional stuff, I was having really big energetic experiences, and I don't know, the third eye opening and all these sorts of things that I suppose people are seeking in a spiritual experience. But I was still very unbalanced. And when I met Sri Jai Shakti at this yoga weekend, he actually told me to say a mantra that day. And I realised he didn't really tell anyone else to say it, but he did say it in front of other people. And they said, should I say the mantra as well? And he just sort of ignored them. And I knew in my heart that he had just told me to say that, not for any special reason, but anyways, I started saying this mantra. And in 3 months I had left my boyfriend, left Sydney, I was on a plane, I was going to Bali, and I arrived on the door of his ashram. I was frightened. It felt like someone else was controlling me. And anyway, to cut a long story short, I had an amazing experience there. It was, I don't know, it was like Alice in Wonderland, or it brought the magic back into my life. I felt just the magic of existence and energy, and I just felt all this energy in my body and all these different things happen. And he taught me through that yoga and praying and other things how to manage the energy in my body so that I wasn't so unbalanced. Yeah, and so it literally has changed my life and turned my life around. And the practice itself, should be doing it more now that I'm saying it. I'm like, oh, I'm so good, I haven't been practicing enough lately. But when I do, it cleans my body. It cleans, because we're always getting blocked. Yeah. You can say, oh, I'm just purification, but you can fasting, you can be on a good diet. So even eating the most healthiest food creates toxins in the body. And just our thought processes and living in the city, we constantly need to purify the body. And with the breathing and using in this yoga, it's more like the body breathes. As the body expands, it kind of, and then as it contracts, it's kind of, it's the body breathing, and through the expansion and contraction of the body, it inhales and exhales, and we get this expansion and contraction of life, and it makes you realize that everything, back to the breath, everything is in the breath, from the total expansion. It's almost like, when you first inhale, it's like the beginning of spring, and you're waking up, and then the full expansion is like the heat of summer, and then as you just kind of go into that first exhale, it's like, the letting go of something, that, autumn right into the contraction of winter. And I feel like in every breath, it's like that. Every day there's the rising of the sun and the setting of the sun, and every week, the beginning and the end of the week, and every month with the moon, and then every year, and then it can just come back down to just this. And if you do that for a good couple of hours, you'll be in your body, but
out there.
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming into your body more to expand out of your body more.
It's amazing, and what I've learnt through working with you is the deeper you go in getting rid of the emotions that have been trapped there, the higher you go as well. It's just amazing.
Totally. Well, I think the thing is we get caught in meditation, and we get caught in the mind and being busy and things, and we all want to be in the body, because when you actually land in the body, you're like, oh, it feels good in here. I like being in the body. It's like, oh, it's like fun. But because the body is where the trauma is being held, and everybody's got trauma, regardless of how big or small the story behind the trauma is, we've all got things that are locked up in here that we don't want to experience or feel because they're uncomfortable. So we don't sit in the body, but we then want to meditate, or we want to go out, but we're limited here. So the more that we clean out the body and allow spirit to sort of sit in the body, to come in and ground into the body, just like a tree, the more that the bigger the roots are, then the higher you can reach. So we really want to become like conduits between the divine and the earth. You know, and your body is just a clear channel, an energetic channel that energy comes down and through you to the earth, and it comes from the earth and through you and up. But of course we've got blocks, like we're not those open channels. But eventually, the more we come into the body and clear this out, the more, and then the more spirit comes in, the more intuition, everything comes in, and the more the Shakti comes up. See, consciousness comes down, and Shakti comes up. The Shiva comes down, Shiva knowledge comes down to us, and Shakti energy reaches up to the divine. Yeah. So we need to raise our energy up and clear out the body so that the consciousness and knowledge can sort of come down and fill us up.
That's really interesting, because I get quite a lot of information from my guides, and I always feel it coming down. And obviously we've worked out that I've got some blockages in the lower part of my body, so that really makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It's funny, my sister, because they're all students of my guru now too.
Oh, okay.
The whole family going over there, and other friends and things. But she just got back, and I was saying to her on the phone just before, the thing is, around of us, like particularly in our Western culture, we've got a lot of awareness around things. We've got a lot of consciousness or knowledge, if you like. But really lacking in the cosmic energy. And then when I go to somewhere like Bali, it's like, there's so much energy there, and that's why people love it, because they feel like, oh God, you can feel the Shakti here, and you can feel yourself. You take a deep breath, you're like, oh God, I can feel my body, because there's so much energy there. So that's what we need to marry: the energy and the consciousness. But yeah, energy, Kundalini comes up, cleans out the body, expands you out so that you can receive.
Cool. So, if anyone wants to work with you, where will they find you?
Well, okay, so I'm actually in the middle of a big transformation, as I've talked to you about with work. I'm building a new website, and but at the moment I'm just teaching yoga on Sunday mornings in DY. And the best thing to do if you really want to come and experience it is to call me. Or I do have a YouTube channel, which is Raising Kundalini, and my yoga teacher, Sri Jai Shakti, or Katut Arsana, he also has some things on the internet. He has a couple of DVDs, and he's actually got an ashram and a hotel next to the ashram in Bali if anyone wants to go and stay and do it with the master. But your second best, no. Second choice is here with me in Sydney, and I do workshops periodically and things like that. And I've been travelling a bit, so I haven't had a permanent kind of setup with yoga. It's quite hard like that. If you've got another studio or you're working with someone else, you've got to kind of, be committed to being there for your classes long term. And because I've been traveling quite a lot, it's been hard. But definitely I'm teaching on Sunday mornings from 9 to 11:30. 9 to 2.5 hours, 9 to 11:30. And watch this space, because there's going to be more yoga, and particularly more for women. I'm going to create more of the belly dancing and the yoga combined.
I think I'll be up for that. I'll see you there.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Well,
thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, thanks for having me and letting me rant off.
You're welcome. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye. Bye.
Bye.